on time too.
Wow, we might be on a new record tonight.
Right? It's amazing. Hey, everybody. How's it going, Charlene?
We show up every day and we're raw and real. I love that. That should be the title of our Tuesday night, for real.
Keeping it raw and real. Yeah. I mean, it's 10:30 p.m. Eastern, 8:30 p.m. your time. If you guys are on the live, give us a hashtag live. If you're on the replay, give us a replay. Give us some love, please. Let us know that you're out here. Gosh, what a crazy time to be doing business.
It really is. I mean, every single moment, someone is just holding on for dear life. Some people are literally starting their businesses, and then some of these huge corporations and enterprise, I mean, their business are being threatened with whether it's government, whether it's the state and governor that the state they reside in. I mean, this is an uncertain time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I mean, COVID and, how much longer is this going to go on? And, how overflowing are your hospitals?
And I have to say this, I think, whatever we physically can see sometimes cannot be conceived because other states and other people are going through this totally different. Like in Florida, totally different than the people in California. The people in California are totally different than people in Texas.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And even different parts of the state in different parts, inner city or, inside of a city versus out in the country. It's very, very different.
It really is. I mean, I just applaud everyone who's willing to be an entrepreneur. I applaud companies who are willing to, keep their employees and take care of them and the families that they come from. I mean, this is those businesses who are holding on and, fighting tooth and nail to keep, I consider, small and medium businesses, the reason why America is so great. It's the entrepreneur spirit that's done this for many hundreds of years.
Yeah, no, I agree. And I think that it's awesome to see, how many people have come and they've even started new businesses in the last year.
Yep, out of necessity.
Absolutely. Got to put food on the table, keep a roof over your head.
Right.
And I mean, the resiliency is amazing.
It has. And how many brick and mortars have pivoted into an online digital space? How many have them just said, no one's walking in my door. I've got to think outside of the box. I've got to force myself to look at what I was so comfortably enjoying and appreciating and just literally doing things differently.
Mm-hmm. So what do you think the biggest challenges are like right now for businesses, for small businesses, medium businesses, and even some of the larger ones?
So, we have a whole slew of different clients. Some of them are SaaS products. Some of them are service-based businesses. Some of them are brick and mortar. And I think right now the biggest problem is I think you need to stop looking at a 12-month plan and literally look at a 90-day sprint. Go 90 days. And then after that, build the next 90 days, because I think there's so much uncertainty that wisdom should always prevail, especially in a time that we're in. Mm-hmm. And I think a lot of businesses are doing it wrong by saying, by fourth quarter, you have no control.
Well, we have no clue where we're going to be in fourth quarter.
Nope.
None
whatsoever. When you make a sale today, that is a sale. And that's what you hold on to. That's what you invest in. That's what you can, make decisions on. But I think, Haley, when you asked me that question, I think people need to stop looking at a whole year and just start doing 90-day sprints.
Yeah, I mean, I think that there's a balance too. You need to have some kind of context for in an ideal world, or understanding where we are right now. We have some sort of plan on where we're going, because it's hard to pivot, wildly every 90 days. But I do think that the 90-day sprint thing is a reality at this point, and should be a reality for most businesses trying to get clients, to get customers, to get sales, to figure out what the heck they're doing, and then go to the next.
Not only because a 90-day sprint gives them, something that they can measure and actually, kind of say, all right, I can make adjustments and recalibrate. But I think because the space now, with the, the onset of the virtual, right? People working from home, a lot of these big corporations have empty business, buildings. like people aren't going to just jump back into normal life. And so I think if the business owner can understand that even their own team is requiring, some adjustments, that they
Mhm.
too, they need the leader to lead them in the sprints so that they can say, all right, in confidence, at least I know what the next 90 days look like.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, I think it's important to have some sort of, like game plan.
And I think the game plan, is, there's two ways to do it. You can work with your goal and work it backwards, which is totally, end in mind. Stephen Covey principle, a sound, totally, something people talk about every single day in leadership books. But I think the second part of the plan is to know what you do really well and to plan on that instead of trying to add new things in place that, you don't really know yet, or you're not really a champion of.
Mhm. Yeah, no, I think that doing a couple of things and doing them very well, or doing the things that you know how to do really well, even if you're having to pivot a little bit with the delivery,
Right.
it's going to be much easier than like totally new, wildly different product rollouts.
Exactly. Like, don't go buy 100,000 pieces of inventory unless you know you have a customer that is going to say, "This is what I need. I'm buying it from you." I mean, some people are changing their payment expectations. Some people are changing how they take money, even because it's just an uncertain market with
Mhm.
the volatile markets that are in place right now. And Haley, I think, for your business especially, everyone's turning to their website. Everyone's turning to their online digital and saying, what do I need to improve? How do I capitalize on this? What do I utilize right now as my plan? Because I don't know what second and third quarter are going to look like.
Right. No, and I mean, I think that some businesses have also started really hoarding cash,
Yes, they have.
which is smart. Because I've seen a lot of businesses, even when there's not like a huge downturn. I've seen some fairly large businesses who, oops, suddenly a bank called a line of credit,
And I
and then
think
they don't know if
everyone
they're going
needs
to
to
make payroll.
realize, and that's kind of where I think the rebirth of the entrepreneur has happened in spite of this pandemic, because just because you have a
Mhm.
job, you're not guaranteed that. And even if you're an entrepreneur, you're not guaranteed that. But you can control 90% of your effort, right? Based on just the fact of grit and showing up. And like Haley said on one of the posts was, how I lead is by doing what I say I'm going to do. Like, you just don't know, guys. You just don't know.
Yeah. No, that was an interesting conversation about leadership.
Hmm.
So, what was motivating you to ask the question about leadership?
So I was kind of just reviewing my ebook. And so I was going through some of the content that was written. And the question prompt is, how do you lead? How do you show up and lead? How do you physically demonstrate this? How do you do this in your business? And I felt like that question literally came from the inspiration of people don't ever see below the iceberg. All they
Mhm.
see is everything above it. That's all they care about. That's all people think. We just showed up overnight. And I'm like, you don't see anything we do, not a
Mm-mm.
single thing. And so that question came up as a result of that, because I felt like leadership is not a trait that you get overnight. I feel like it's more of a skill and experience that you develop over time.
Mhm. I agree. Yeah. And leadership is such an interesting buzzword. And, I went through a ton of leadership stuff when I was at Duke in the business program, in the MBA program. And, that's a huge portion of the MBA program. And it was interesting to me because that definition of what is leadership, what does leadership mean? How do you lead?
Hmm. And it's not necessarily what people can see, it's all the things that
Mm-mm.
people don't see. And I think that's where the depth of experience and education and training can help navigate through a time like the pandemic. It could
Mhm.
navigate through, Haley, you and I have talked about this at length. When you're trying to lead your client, you're trying to lead a project, you're trying to develop something that maybe other people never done before. But depth, I believe, is really where no matter what you do, you have something to fall on, and you have depth of understanding of what, anything you execute has some sort of, common ground, is that depth of knowledge and experience.
Absolutely. Yeah. And it's tricky to be a leader.
It is.
Because anybody can tell you to do stuff.
What do you mean? I just want the directions, or hey, I want to just pay you to do it. Not possible. I think it robs people of the opportunity when they want someone else to lead instead of them becoming that leader. It robs them of that opportunity to become that leader.
Yeah. Well, and it's very easy to abdicate that leadership position in your business. I see a lot with people who hire VAs.
Yep.
And trust me, I am all for hiring a VA. Trust me, believe me. But it's that when you hire a VA and then you're like, well, can you tell me how to market my business?
Nope.
Or can you tell me how to run this aspect of my business?
Nope.
Or, can you develop all of these processes?
Not going to happen, because you're never going to be happy, because it's not your own formula. It's not what you're doing. And, we've focused on being the execution side of the client's sales and marketing. And that's really helped in the last 90 days with clients who want to execute their coaching, execute, writing a book, executing, their speaking platform, because they know they can't hire a VA. They know that there's not a VA out there who's going to understand CEO to CEO what you need in your business. Not possible.
Yeah, absolutely. And trust me, go hire a VA for the right things.
Well, and it's kind of like, you can't lead someone if you're not leading yourself. So why would you put that pressure on someone else to do it if you can't lead yourself yet?
Because it's easy to give somebody money and then wonder why it didn't work.
Isn't that the common thread that we hear a lot of times when they say, well, I paid you? And I'm like, I know, but you got to do the work. Like, that's kind of the ingredients.
I paid you to coach me, Char.
I know. And I'm a little too brutal for my own damn good, but I'm not afraid to say, well, guess what the common denominator is? It's that person's, idea or this fantasy that they have that, someone else is going to do the work. It's like, we can execute, but if you don't pick up the phone, if you don't show up to do your lives, if you're not putting out good content out there, those are the things I can't even do for you.
Yeah, you can buy all the programs, you can get all the coaching in the world, but if you don't apply it and do the thing, it's really hard to have a business.
You don't say, Haley. Like,
I don't know. I mean, like, seriously. I mean, like, why should I have to do the stuff?
Well, your mastermind, great example, right? When people make the decision to join your mastermind and they're a part of it, they've got to show up to get the content that they need for their business.
Oh, absolutely.
It doesn't come in a vacuum. Like, it doesn't magically show up.
Well, and I'm not going to sit here and record a training call with somebody else, because really a lot of the point of masterminding is that idea that we're interacting and we're exchanging ideas.
Yeah.
And that's the power of mastermind.
Well, and I feel like the facilitation, right, is the most important part, because
absolutely,
you've got to come with a question. You've got to come with something to contribute. You've got to come up with something so that you equally are feeling like you're getting something from it.
Well, and that's the point, because endlessly coaching on stuff doesn't meet anybody's needs. Nope. You can consume all the information in the world, but if it's not at a point where you need to be in your business, then it may not do you any good. You have to apply the knowledge.
What are you talking about? That means that I have to be accountable, and I've got to do the work, and I've got to expect myself to, do the hard things. Well, that's not hiring a VA, right? That's hiring an expert. That's hiring someone who can say, this is what you do, and this is the SOPs, and these are the processes. And that's the difference between a VA and someone who's actually doing the work.
Absolutely. Yeah. And it takes a lot of work to do the things. It just does.
Well, Haley, why do you think people assume that the work just doesn't do itself? Why do you think that? I mean, when you think about a website, people think, oh, I got a website. So you're writing all my content, you're understanding the sales funnel, you're creating the strategy, you're doing everything and picking the pictures out. Oh, and by the way, I need you to also make sure that, any compliances, anything that's, part of the regulations of email marketing. And don't you do that, Haley, for me? Like, why do you think people do that? Like in your field?
Well, and I see it a lot too, where people are like, hey, can you just copy the terms and conditions and the privacy statements off of your own websites and just put them on mine? No, I can't.
No.
You need to take your privacy statements and run them by an attorney, or at least review them yourself before you go putting them out there. Because, dear Lord, you could dig yourself into a hole massively legally by ripping off somebody else's privacy policies and terms and conditions.
And it's not like, today we did a cybersecurity event. A couple of my clients were a panel for app development, and they were talking about the back end, and, they were talking to new entrepreneurs and said, it's not about when you get sued. You are going to get sued. And I think that reality check was a little scary for some of the clients on the call, because here they've just spent $50,000 to $75,000 on an app. And all of a sudden they're told the number one person responsible is the CEO. And they're thinking, shouldn't it be my IT guy? They're like, nope, you are 100% accountable if you don't do the parts that you need to do. And I think that's what we forget, that we're 100% accountable as CEOs to not only our team, ourselves, our business, our clients.
Really? I mean, that to me is honestly the most wonderful and the most freaking awful part of owning my own business and being my own CEO, right? Is that ultimately at the end of the day, it's my decisions that make or break the business in every single dimension.
Nope. And it's not even the fact that you didn't think about that. It's not the fact that you haven't been busting your butt. It's not the fact that, you're totally aware of, the obligations financially, emotionally, mentally. But it's like, how do you do it all? How do you do it all really well?
You don't do it all very well.
Nope.
You have to hire people and trust that they did the job that they were hired to do so that they're not exposing you to more risk. That's a scary place, because if you're like hiring somebody out to do an app develop, and having an app developed for your business.
But
most people, I would dare
say,
are not software engineers.
Nope.
And they're not going to understand the security vulnerabilities, the data vulnerabilities, the personally identifiable information. And I could go off here speaking in TLAs for an hour, but they're not going to understand what that code is doing and where it's opening them up to risk.
Nope.
Or even if that code was copied from somebody else.
Well, it's not even that. It's the simple fact that, hey, bring your own computer to work. Oh, and by the way, hey, now we've got 20 of you guys. Now we need you to put everything on the cloud. Oh, it should be safe. I mean, they're not putting those firewalls in place because it's getting mixed up with other people's personal. They could be doing things that are not compliant. They could be, and God forbid, they could be undermining everything you're doing in your business. And so CEOs, you are responsible. You are a CEO, whether you are a startup in growth or scale, you are the CEO of your company.
Yeah. Well, and I mean, even things like password management.
True.
And two-factor authentication.
True.
That's kind of a scary thing for me. And one of the things that I personally loathe about managing some social media platforms, because Facebook is the only platform, and Google, where there is user rights management. So we start talking about,
right.
Other platforms. LinkedIn, if you're managing somebody's LinkedIn profile, they don't have a way to delegate access.
Nope.
Neither does Twitter.
Mm-mm.
Or Clubhouse.
Not Clubhouse either.
TikTok or Instagram.
Nope.
Mm-mm.
So what do you think they have to do? Because, Haley, the thing is, we don't want to make people feel like, here's an aspiring entrepreneur and here's all the woes and all of the things, that, obviously do happen in business.
Absolutely.
We don't want to, make it too hard for them, and we don't want to make them feel like this is impossible because they're already overwhelmed and burdened.
Oh, it's already nuts, right?
Yeah.
Send out emails, write a blog, do live, stand on your head, click your heels. Oh, by the way, you need to go be on Clubhouse for the next 3 hours and go do 23 podcast interviews this week just for the marketing. Never mind that you were actually going to deliver some products and services this week.
Exactly. So what should we say to them? Because you know what? I think the spirit of entrepreneurship is really at the heart of why America is really a great place to be. That's why people come into the country. That's why they're here developing businesses. That's why they're here. And I don't want aspiring entrepreneurs to ignore that. But I just feel like we've got to give them a message, like maybe of hope or maybe some sort of like just reality check. I don't know. I think we're so real that we want people to have as much as possible from us, the facts about what they're getting into as an entrepreneur.
Right. Well, and I think that my message is start small, start simple. You don't have to be on every single social media platform.
Yep.
You can have simple technology like LastPass to manage user access to accounts. You can do certain things that help secure your user IDs and passwords. And then, if somebody leaves your team, then you can revoke user IDs and passwords. And by all means, even if you're using LastPass, make sure you're changing your passwords.
Right. I think
there's some simple stuff you can do.
Well, and I think the other side of that is that, focus on the one thing that makes your business is a sale.
Mm-hmm.
If you don't make a sale, guys, you're not in business.
Yeah. If you're not making money, it's an expensive hobby.
It is. And this one gal, we onboarded her. She spent $50,000 on a coaching program. A year later comes to me and says, I haven't made a single sale. And I'm just like baffled. Like, what in the world? So guys, focus on the things that are going to make you money.
Was she building websites and sales funnels and stuff?
Oh yeah, she had like this ClickFunnels thing one time. And then she had email campaigns. And then she had this funnel thing and then Infusionsoft.
Did she set up like the whole online course thing?
Yeah.
So she could be evergreen and then run ads to it and then take the courses on how to run ads.
$11,000 of Facebook ads and no sales.
Yeah, that's because she probably ran ads to a cold traffic to a sales page.
I was like, $11,000. And she's like, but Charlene, I'm learning. I'm like, I don't care. You are not in the business of trying to learn a very expensive mistake when there are free contents and people who can help and coach you. And now she said to me, I'm not in charge anymore. I'm like, nope. I'm going to tell you what to do because this is out of control. You cannot be spending any more money on things that are not bringing you money.
Mm-hmm. I did it. I did the same thing.
Haley.
I did it.
But you're freaking amazing. Like, it was
I hired a coach who basically, said, do these things. And I did. It was a very expensive mistake.
Ugh.
Somebody who had, I had a couple of coaches that were very, well known at the time. And I spent a lot of money. I did a launch, per their instructions and made one sale. It was ridiculous. And it's not that I'm anti-course or anti-funnels. Trust me. I think that funnels and courses and emails and all that have a place in your business. But that's not the shortest path to a sale.
Nope.
And you're pulling your hair out. And I'm like, yeah, I did that. And I want to pull my hair out, because there's this illusion that a lot of people will sell that, oh, well, the fastest way to make money is to, sell this online course and do all these things and spend all your time spinning your wheels trying to sell this automated course when all people want is to talk to you and work with you one-on-one. Once you fill up your roster one-on-one, then you can graduate from there to doing group programs and graduate from there to doing the e-courses. And thank you very much. Y'all can just write me a check and deposit it in my account.
Yeah, that was a $25,000 lesson right there, guys. Like, you could pay her for that. because
Mhm.
that's how it works. And the reason why I'm pulling out my hair is because
But nobody
that
wants
is
to hear that because
no,
that's not the sexy.
no, but also too, it pisses me off because that gives the good coaches such a bad and hard time to help when I say, just focus on a sale. And they're like, what do you mean? We're not writing content. We're not. I'm like, nope, you need money. Like, let's focus on making you some money. And it gives us such a hard thing to lift because
Right.
we're trying to undo, right, the mistakes and the
Right.
hype. And I'm gonna say this, but you know, just kind of like the rinse and repeat guys, like those guys have poisoned the well of really what true coaching should be. It should be one-to-one. It should be execute, right? It should be adjust and calibrate and then adjust again and then execute.
Yeah.
That's what it should be. Not all
Yeah,
this
exactly.
fluff.
Well, and coaches coaching coaches coaching coaches coaching coaches to sell a bespoke program. Sorry. And
Hey, that was more expensive than your MBA degree. That was
no,
more
it
expensive
wasn't.
than
No, it was not.
that was more expensive than my Black Belt Lean Six Sigma certification. When we think about it, I'm like,
Probably.
guys, we should execute. Try it, test it, fail fast.
Well, and people are like, but I'm not comfortable talking to people. Well, find structured environments where you can go talk to people. And then take that and go talk to the people that you met there.
I know. And that, you know, I'm going to say this. Sometimes, you know, I've been in BNI, you know, I was a vice president. I was a number one recruiter, blah, blah, blah. There's a lot of good at BNI. There's a lot of good structure. There's a lot of good base. If you're just starting out, guys, that's a good place to learn some of the normal practices and best practices in networking. You don't have to stay in it forever, depending on your product or your business.
Oh, it's
But
been beautiful to my business.
Oh, huge. Websites.
Huge. Digital
awesome.
marketing. Let me do it all day long.
Exactly.
My goal this year is to be spending all my time hopping around between the 30 BNI groups in my area.
Because guess what? They're wanting to spend the money.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, building the relationships and having the one-on-ones is totally worth it. But, you know, it's that having the conversations. Because as we learned in BNI, the meeting itself is just a dog and pony show.
Of course.
Sorry.
It really is.
It really is the dog and pony show. Where the money is actually made online, where the money is actually made in BNIs is the one-on-ones afterwards and the conversations.
Yep.
And the endless conversations.
Right. And of course you turn in your slips and you know, you have your board with all the total numbers of, you know, all the money made, but it's the work that happens after the meeting. That's the part that people don't do in order to make it worth their time and their effort.
Mm-hmm. But that's true of Facebook groups too.
Oh, of course.
You know, people want to go and they want to post their stuff in the group and then walk off. And I even see group owners who do the same thing. They just want to schedule their posts and then they don't want to come back and engage with the peons.
That's why they shouldn't do a group, or hire someone that's going to engage and be part of the engagement component, because that's how people buy. They're engaged with you. They know, like, and trust you. They see your content and they go, I need to make a call, right? And it's just showing up in your business. It's doing what you guys are doing already. Just show up and do it consistently.
Yeah, totally.
Oh, thank goodness. It's
and
not
people
that hard.
think that the idea of having like a one-to-one is, so let's talk about one-to-ones, because I feel like called it to talk about one-to-ones because now I know you've been a BNI member. So a lot of people think that you have a one-to-one and the sole purpose of that is to sell the person.
Nope. Wrong answer.
You know, that's always kind of the thing that like always like mystifies me. I've had people in my BNI group. It's taken them a while to understand my goal is never to sell you on that one-to-one. So yeah, if y'all book a call with me, I'm not there to try to sell you every single time because I don't have to.
Nope. But I think that's the difference between someone who's in integrity in their selling and someone who's just there to be selling so you're feeling like you're sold to. And I think that's how BNI kind of, to what BNI structure is and what it's supposed to do. It's supposed to weed out that kind of culture.
Absolutely. But it's intentional about building the relationships. And a lot of people are like, well, but isn't that like artificial, building relationships with people? Because I'm just in it to make money off of them.
Yep. It's a transactional, positioning. That's not relationship building. But that's what I meant by the depth. Like if you have depth in your business, whether it's
Absolutely.
relationships, whether it's experience and training and, just time, you're not going to be weathering the storm very well, right? You need the depth in order to weather the storms of like a pandemic or, maybe going virtual from a brick and mortar. But the one-to-ones, which is really powerful, and this is the reason why I've really appreciated BNI, and even though I don't go anymore,
Right.
the BNI's structure was good to help coach and train up so that business owners could come into that environment, understand the etiquette of networking and the etiquette of the art of the sale.
And you're not just walking around the room handing every single person you meet your business card.
Yep, totally.
Because there's a lot of people who think that networking is I'm walking around the room and I'm handing them my business card, or I'm going into random Facebook groups and I'm dropping my bird droppings every which way I go. I can't tell you how many people I boot out of my Facebook group because that's all they're doing. They join, and then the next thing you know, they're like popping up on random posts that have nothing to do with their stuff. And they're like, yeah, here, come join my Facebook group and buy my stuff. And I'm like, okay, you're weird.
Well, I don't think they understand the culture, right? When you're in a Facebook environment group, it's about connection and engagement, and then trust comes into place, and then the opportunity presents itself.
And that's true in Clubhouse, and that's true on every platform.
Right.
Humans are kind of funny that way.
And it's the irony of it, because the same work you guys do for, $100 client is the same kind of work you're going to do for the 10, the 15, the $25,000 client. So you just have to go, what's really worth my time and my effort? And so if you're transactional, guys, there's no way you're going to have repeat business or referral business.
Absolutely.
It's really not that hard. And I think, Haley, one of the things that I really appreciated about, networking, when you have the right people in the room, networking becomes synergistic. That's the value of the room versus you could tell the takers in the room the second, even in virtual. Like I'm like, oh, there's a taker.
No, that one's just here for the referrals.
Or they're here to take over the entire conversation for everything, so that their whole business is like literally walking out the door with stuff that you teach, you coach, you do. And you're like, where was the value exchange?
Yeah.
Isn't that the truth? Isn't that the truth?
Isn't that the truth? Yeah. Keeping it raw and real, right?
That's exactly
How do you smell the takers? From a mile away.
And this is the rule. When you see the person taking more than giving, you have to say to yourself, how do I keep myself distant from that person? Because you will feel guilty, right? This is normal. You want to help, you want to contribute. And I always tell them, the client that you need is needing your help, and you're wasting your time with someone who's just going to take from you.
Yeah. Totally. I agree.
It's true.
Yeah. Love it. Very cool. So what are you up to these days? What kind of trouble are you up to right now?
I just keep solving problems. That's what I'm up to. I'm solving people's problems.
What's your favorite problem you've solved lately?
The most recent client we onboarded, she's dynamic. She knows what she wants. And she used to be doing a lot of personal face-to-face sales. Obviously with the pandemic, and she's in California, different kind of state, different kind of guidelines. And she said, Charlene, I have been spinning my wheels the last 6 weeks. I don't have anything that I'm going for. I need someone to take the things out of my head and put them on paper and put it, into some marketing and sales strategy. The reason why that was the best problem I just solved for her was because she already has the skill set. She already knows how to close clients. She just needs a path. And so for me, if I can be the sounding board that can take what they're saying and create what their client or prospects need, she is going to be that much more excited and successful because she's doing something that she can go and serve others with.
Yeah, absolutely.
And also Clubhouse. Like, let's just talk about Clubhouse. Clubhouse is friggin' where it's at. And I don't even spend hours and hours, Haley. Like, I know that's terrible, but
No, but you need to balance your time and effort and energy.
yeah, but it's strategic. Like, I think a lot of people miss that a lot of things that they're doing can be more strategically done with the bullseye, like you said today in our mastermind. The bullseye is my goal. Like, I'm hitting that bullseye. That's what I want. I don't need the fluff. I need the bullseye.
Right. No, it's just about understanding the bullseye. So explain what this bullseye concept is.
So with the raw and real idea that you and I do every Tuesday, it's not about helping all the tens and thousands and 20,000s of people that clients want to have. I always say the bullseye is to get the one sale and then repeat that, adjust and calibrate and repeat it again. And depending on what responses you get and how, maybe the top of your funnel, especially in your sales sequences, are attracting the right people, the wrong people, we then know down your sales funnel what's going to happen and what's going to close. And so when I say we're hitting the bullseye, I'm cutting the fat off. I'm cutting the fluff and the warm, fuzzy feelings. I'm just saying, how do we get you a sale?
Yeah. What do you need to do today to get a sale this week?
Yeah, kind of.
Who do you need to talk to? What do you need to be doing? What is missing for you to get a sale this week? And when somebody tells me they are not ready to get a sale, I'm like, are we in business?
Nope. Well, and sometimes the other question I've been getting lately is monetizing Facebook groups. Some people are like, sure, I don't have, 3,000 people. I don't have, 5,000. I have like 1.2, maybe I have 800. And I'm like, that's more than enough.
I've known people have built their entire business off of a group that's 800 or 900, not 1,000, 800 or 900 people.
Yes.
And they fill their entire coaching roster with even fewer than that. So I think sometimes people look at the 72,000 in WEN and they're like, oh my God, that's so amazing. And I'm like, it's something.
But it costs you more money when it's too big for you to manage. It costs you too much money because you're not really close to your target. You're so far away.
You have to spend more time getting close to your target to get them into conversations, which means segmenting your list and segmenting your group down into smaller groups so that you can actually have meaningful conversations and build meaningful relationships.
And Haley, this is usually, I think, the misleading part of groups, especially, and this is something we found with the funnel building we've been doing, is that they're going to attract certain kind of group members at certain peaks and valleys of their business. And so they have to realize, like, the person you might have recruited, 3 months ago may not be the same person, 6 months from now, 9 months from now. And so you have to stay consistent with your content throughout because your clients go up and down in business. And so the second they go, man, I got success, I want to do more sales, then they can say, I want to buy. If they're in the valley and they're like, I'm struggling, that's not the kind of client, and that's not where they're at, that you want to really, up level and help them do what they're doing.
Yeah. Well, and people ebb and flow where they are in their lives, in their businesses. I mean, it's the same thing you just said.
Right.
And groups tend to ebb and flow as well. And you have to be sensitive to that and sensitive to the energy of your group. I mean, monetizing your group is great. I generate a ton of clients out of it, but you have to really think about different ways to get creative with leveraging it and generating income streams from a group. It's not always the most straightforward ones that work the best. And a lot of people are like, oh, I can just broadcast stuff all in my group and I'll get clients.
Nope.
Not so fast, Speedy. You just wish.
Well, and I think it's the quality too, like, of your product or service. If you are going to be doing, a group that's, moms in business, that's super broad in general. But if you're really focusing on, the 6, 7, 8 figure income earners, or if you're focusing on social selling, if you're focusing on a mastermind model, you're really going to be specific. And so you can't really expect thousands of people to show up, because when you're more targeted, you're getting the right people in the room. And that's less than probably what your 10-20% idea is. It's probably going to be 1% to 2% that are going to actually convert and close in your group.
Yeah. Well, and that's pretty typical. And it's why I think a lot of people have ditched their groups over the years, because the conversion rates with the people that they added to the groups were not what they expected, because the targeting was not what they were expecting. And so, you know, if you expect to convert in certain ways and monetize and leverage the group in certain ways, and it doesn't convert exactly that way, it may not be that it's a horrible group. It may be that you need to monetize and leverage it differently than you currently are, which is a whole other set of strategies. It's not just the, hey, let me sell to you.
Yeah. And I think there's and this is just my opinion, you know, my groups are not thousands and thousands. They're very, very hyper. We only pick people who are going to contribute, who are going to benefit, and who are going to be like-minded, right? So that there's not this convincing or this,
right. Yeah.
Hey, I don't want to kick people out. Like,
I don't believe in convincing people.
No. So here's something that I've found and learned in building groups in 45 days, 60 days, is your questions at entry need to be so specific so that people can say, this is a group for me or not, right away.
Right. And if they're not answering the questions, they're out.
Yeah.
And if their profile doesn't look realistic, they're out.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I don't need vampire ears or, you know, ski mask. Like, that's not what we want. That's you're showing up in a way that is disconnected from the culture and from the people and from what we want. So, you know, for these groups,
it's an audition.
It is. You have to kind of bring value, or else, you know, no one's going to benefit from you.
Yeah. No, that was one of the things that I started doing, was I started looking at people's profiles, and I quit allowing all of my admins to admit people into the group, and I started doing it all myself. And lo and behold, the group changed pretty dramatically, because I started looking at every person who applied to get into the group. Now it started growing faster, but I also declined more people. And that's because I'm looking at every single profile. Is this a real person? Do they actually seem like they have a business? Or is this somebody who I think is just going to spam the daylights out of the group? Yeah. Now, I miss a few. I get it wrong occasionally. But, you know, we keep a lot out.
And that's just wisdom, right? It's like what we said, like ebb and flow. It comes up and down. Every season, you know, comes and seasons goes.
Like 6 months ago, it was the Bitcoin fake profiles out the wazoo. Yep. Oh my God, the bots were out in full force.
They sure were. And that's the reason why I think, you know, Facebook's kind of throttling down, because there's some of that trying to come in. And unfortunately for us who are organic, it hurts us too.
It does. Yeah. And, you know, or being organic is really cool, because almost all of my stuff is organic.
Only way to do it.
You know, it's a challenge.
Yeah. But I think, Haley, too, like, you know, as we kind of like launch into, you know, this next couple of weeks, I mean, you've got a couple of things really happening. You've got Clubhouse disrupting the platforms. You've got Facebook, who's totally changing its algorithm. You know, Instagram and Pinterest are becoming more of an SEO component, lead generation to retarget. So there's some specific strategies that are getting launched. So I think businesses who are making some pivots right now, I think they need to just really pay attention to where their customer is and what are those platforms doing and saying for them.
Yeah. Well, and SEO has been more and more impacted over time by social media platforms.
Yep. 100% agree.
It's an interesting world to be in.
It's not our world anymore. Sometimes, you know, we can't expect to own everything in our life. Facebook's borrowed, Instagram's borrowed. You know, we have to really build our websites. We've got to really focus in on, you know, controlling our audience by email lists. Like that's the only way to really to remove the control that these platforms have on our own businesses.
Absolutely, I agree. Cool. Well, thank you for joining me tonight.
Hey, this is always fun. We love our Tuesday night raw and real. And thanks, Haley.
And I've been seeing some comments get posted in a couple of places, aren't posting here on StreamYard, like where we can see them. But yeah, no, it's really cool to see, you know, and share kind of some of the real experiences, you know, and the, yes, 25, 30, huge thousands of dollars mistakes that I made. So hopefully other people don't make them.
And this is free content, guys. Like, we just get together, we, you know, we pour for impact, we give as an impact so that you can understand the value of what you're doing as an entrepreneur. So please take advantage of Haley's library on YouTube. Take advantage of her content. Take advantage of the community that is here, because we're here to help you. We don't know everything. We're lifelong learners, but we know a thing or two.
One or two.
Please, just use us. We're telling you to use us for your
Use
business.
all the crazy content that we're posting out there.
Exactly. Thanks,
Amazing.
Haley, for a great night. Appreciate
Thank you,
it so
Shar.
much.
Take care. Bye-bye.